The Lazy Person's Guide to Genius, a motivational self-help audiobook by Astrian. You have been lied to. From the moment you entered school, someone told you that hard work alone was the path to greatness. They told you to fill every minute, to push through exhaustion, and to wear your busyness like a medal. But look around at the people who actually change the world. Look at the inventors, the artists, and the deep thinkers you admire. They are not the ones running in circles. They are the ones sitting quietly, staring out windows and letting their minds wander. This book is here to give you back something that was stolen from you. It is here to give you permission to stop. The truth is simple, but most people miss it entirely. Your brain does not work like a factory assembly line where more hours mean more products. Your brain works like a garden where the best ideas need space to grow. When you constantly fill your head with noise and tasks and endless doing, you never give your best thoughts a chance to sprout. This book will show you that doing nothing is actually doing something incredibly smart. You will learn why the laziest people in history often became the most brilliant. You will discover a new way of living that feels like rest, but delivers results like hard work. And by the end, you will wonder why no one told you this sooner. Chapter 1. The Hustle Culture Trap. We live in a world that celebrates the exhausted. Look at your social media feeds, and you will see people bragging about 5 a.m. wake-ups and 100-hour work weeks. They post pictures of their crowded calendars as if a full schedule is proof of a meaningful life. They call themselves grinders and hustlers, and they look down on anyone who dares to rest. But here is the question no one asks them. What are they actually producing with all that effort? Many of them are simply spinning their wheels, doing busy work that looks impressive but leads nowhere. They mistake movement for progress and exhaustion for success. This trap is so common that most people never even realize they are inside it. The hustle culture trap works by making you feel guilty for every moment of stillness. When you sit quietly, a voice in your head whispers that you should be doing something productive. When you take a break, you feel like you are falling behind. This guilt is not natural. It was taught to you by a system that values output over imagination. The problem is that this constant pressure actually destroys the very things that lead to real success. Creativity dies under stress. Problem-solving crumbles under pressure. And deep thinking requires calm, not chaos. You cannot force a brilliant idea to appear by working harder. You can only create the space for it to arrive on its own. Think about the most stressed periods of your own life. Were you full of amazing ideas during those times? Probably not. You were likely just trying to survive the next deadline or the next demand. Your mind was in survival mode, not creation mode. Survival mode is great for escaping danger but terrible for inventing anything new. When your brain is constantly scanning for threats, it narrows your focus to only what is right in front of you. This narrow focus keeps you safe, but it also keeps you small. You cannot see the big picture when you are always looking at your feet. You cannot solve complex problems when your brain is too tired to think. The people who fall hardest into the hustle trap are often the most ambitious ones. They want to succeed so badly that they believe more effort is always the answer. They add more tasks, more goals, and more commitments until their lives become unbearable. What they do not realize is that success does not come from doing more things. Success comes from doing the right things at the right time with a clear mind. A tired mind makes poor decisions. A rushed mind misses obvious solutions. A busy mind cannot hear its own best ideas. You cannot out-hustle your own biology. Your brain has limits, and ignoring those limits only makes you slower in the long run. There is a reason why so many successful people talk about the importance of rest. They learned the hard way that constant work leads to burnout, not breakthroughs. They discovered that their best ideas came during walks, vacations, and lazy Sunday mornings. They stopped apologizing for taking time off and started protecting their stillness like a treasure. These people did not become successful despite being lazy in moments. They became successful because they allowed themselves those lazy moments. They understood that their minds needed space to connect dots that busy work kept separate. They valued their mental energy more than they valued looking busy for others. You have the power to step out of this trap starting today. It begins with a simple decision to stop measuring your worth by how much you do. You are not a machine built for constant output. You are a human being with a mind that needs rest, silence, and freedom. The first step is to notice when you feel guilty for doing nothing and to question that guilt. Ask yourself who benefits from you feeling like you always need to be working. Ask yourself what you might discover if you gave your mind a real break. This book will guide you through the rest, but the most important choice is yours. Choose to believe that slowing down is not falling behind. Choose to believe that your genius is waiting for you to get quiet enough to hear it. Chapter 2. Your brain is not a muscle, it's a forest. Most people think about their brains like they think about their arms and legs. They believe that if they work harder, their brain will get stronger just like a muscle grows from lifting weights. This idea sounds reasonable, but it is completely wrong for creative and intelligent thinking. Muscles grow when you tear them down through intense effort and then let them repair. Your brain grows best when you stop tearing it down and let it wander freely. The metaphor that truly fits your brain is not a muscle at all. It is a forest full of winding paths and hidden clearings. Think about what happens in a healthy forest when humans leave it alone. The trees grow tall without anyone pushing them. The paths between them form naturally from gentle use. Animals find their way without being forced. The whole system becomes rich, complex, and full of life simply because it was given space. Now imagine what happens when people march through that same forest every day with heavy boots. The paths become ruts. The soil gets hard and packed. Nothing new can grow because the constant movement kills every seed before it sprouts. Your brain works exactly the same way. Constant busyness creates deep ruts of habit that prevent new connections from forming. Your best thinking happens not when you are forcing it, but when you are letting it breathe. Have you ever noticed how your best ideas show up in the shower or while you are driving? That is your forest growing without anyone stomping through it. In those moments, your brain stops following the worn paths of your daily routine and starts exploring. New connections form between ideas that never met before. Solutions appear that you could not find while staring at the problem. This is not magic. This is your brain doing exactly what it was designed to do when left alone. You do not need to force this process. You only need to stop interrupting it. The hustle culture mindset treats the brain like a machine that needs constant input to produce output. This mindset demands that you fill every spare moment with podcasts, books, and tasks in the name of self-improvement. But constant input is not improvement. Constant input is noise that drowns out your own thinking. You cannot hear your own voice when someone else is always talking. You cannot follow your own thoughts when you are always consuming someone else's ideas. The forest of your mind needs silence to grow. It needs empty spaces where new paths can form without being trampled by more information. This is why so many geniuses throughout history valued solitude and idleness. They understood that their minds needed fallow periods just like farmland needs seasons of rest. A farmer who plants crops in the same field year after year without rest eventually destroys the soil. The field becomes barren, and nothing grows no matter how much work is done. Your mind is the same field that produces your best ideas. If you never let it rest, it will stop producing anything worth harvesting. The greatest thinkers knew this instinctively. They protected their quiet time because they knew it was when their best work was actually being done beneath the surface. You can start treating your brain like a forest today instead of like a machine. The first step is to stop measuring your mental progress by how much you have consumed or done. Start paying attention to when your best ideas actually arrive. Notice the patterns and you will see they almost never come during your busiest moments. They come when you are relaxed, wandering, or doing something simple that does not demand much focus. These are the moments when your forest is growing. These are the moments when your genius is quietly building connections. Your job is to create more of these moments and to stop feeling guilty when they happen. Trust that your brain knows what it is doing when you let it rest. Chapter 3. Meet your inner genius. He's lazy too. There is a part of your brain that scientists call the default mode network. This name sounds complicated, but the idea behind it is beautifully simple. This network becomes most active when you are doing absolutely nothing at all. When you stop focusing on the outside world, this part of your brain lights up and gets to work. It starts connecting distant ideas, replaying memories in new ways, and imagining possibilities you never considered. This is not daydreaming in the useless sense. This is your brain's most powerful thinking mode, and it only activates when you stop trying so hard. Let us give this part of your brain a name that feels more personal. Let us call him Albert, after the man who showed us what genius looks like. Albert is the version of you that works best when you are not watching. Albert does not care about your to-do list or your deadlines or what other people expect from you. Albert cares about connections, patterns, and ideas that no one has thought of before. Albert is lazy in the best possible way because he refuses to waste energy on things that do not matter. He waits patiently for you to stop making noise so he can finally show you what he has been building. Most people never meet their Albert because they never give him a chance to speak. They keep their brains in constant focused mode, always attacking problems directly, always pushing for answers. Focused mode is important for getting things done, but it is terrible for having brilliant ideas. Albert cannot work when you are constantly demanding his attention. He needs quiet, space, and freedom from expectations. He needs you to stop staring at the problem so he can look at it from angles you never considered. When you finally relax and let go, Albert steps forward with the solution you could not find through effort alone. Think about a time when you struggled with a problem for hours and then suddenly figured it out while making dinner. That was Albert. Think about a time when you forgot someone's name and then remembered it hours later when you stopped trying. That was Albert. Think about a time when you had a creative idea that seemed to come from nowhere while you were relaxing. That was Albert. He has been working for you your entire life, but you have probably been ignoring his help. You have been so busy trying to force answers that you missed the voice that had them all along. Albert does not shout, he whispers, and you have to get quiet to hear him. The good news is that meeting Albert is easier than you think. You do not need to meditate for hours or take a vacation to a mountaintop. You simply need to stop filling every moment with purpose and distraction. You need to give yourself permission to stare out a window without feeling guilty. You need to let your mind wander without immediately grabbing your phone to end the boredom. Albert shows up in the gaps between your tasks. He shows up when you finish something and wait before starting the next thing. He shows up when you walk without listening to anything. He is always there waiting for you to create the silence he needs to work. Once you start listening to Albert, your whole relationship with productivity will change. You will stop believing that genius comes from grinding harder than everyone else. You will start protecting your quiet moments like they are sacred because you now know what happens in them. You will realize that the lazy part of you is actually the smartest part of you. The part that wants to rest and wander and do nothing is the part that holds your greatest potential. Albert has been trying to help you your whole life. He has been sending you ideas that you ignored because you were too busy to notice. It is time to stop ignoring him. It is time to let your inner genius do what he does best. Chapter 4. The Power of the Pause. There is a hidden power in stopping before you start. Most people move through their days like a train that never slows down, rushing from one task to the next without a breath in between. They finish one meeting and immediately check emails before the next one begins. They complete a project and instantly look for what is next to conquer. They never leave space between their actions, and in that emptiness, they lose something precious. The pause between activities is where your brain processes what just happened. The pause is where you regain clarity before moving forward. The pause is where genius quietly works while you think you are doing nothing. History is filled with brilliant minds who understood this secret without needing science to prove it. Albert Einstein spent hours sailing alone, doing nothing but staring at the water. Thomas Edison took frequent naps when he felt stuck on a problem. Charles Darwin took long walks every single day and refused to let anything interrupt them. These people were not wasting time when they paused. They were doing their most important work in the moments that looked like laziness. They understood that pushing harder does not solve every problem. Sometimes the smartest move is to stop pushing entirely and let the answer come to you. The pause works because it interrupts the momentum of wrong thinking. When you work on a problem for too long, your brain gets stuck in certain patterns. You keep trying the same approaches even when they are clearly not working. You become blind to other possibilities because your focus is too narrow. A pause breaks that pattern completely. When you step away, your brain resets and releases its grip on the failing approach. When you come back, you see the problem with fresh eyes that notice what you were missing before. This is not laziness. This is strategic thinking that uses your brain's natural abilities instead of fighting against them. You can start using the power of the pause today without changing anything else about your life. The simplest way is to build tiny gaps between everything you do. When you finish one task, take 10 seconds to breathe before starting the next. When you hang up a call, sit quietly for a moment before moving on. When you arrive somewhere early, do not fill the time with your phone. Just sit and let your mind be still. These tiny pauses seem too small to matter, but they add up to something powerful. Each pause gives your brain a moment to process, reset, and prepare. Each pause is a small act of genius that most people skip entirely. Larger pauses are even more powerful, but most people avoid them because they feel uncomfortable. Sitting alone with no distraction feels strange when you are used to constant noise. Your mind might race at first, demanding that you do something, anything, to escape the silence. This discomfort is actually a sign that the pause is working. Your brain is so used to being fed constant input that silence feels like withdrawal. But if you stay in that silence, something wonderful happens. Your mind calms down, your thoughts slow, and in that calm space, ideas begin to surface that were buried under all the noise. This is where your best thinking lives. The most successful people in any field understand that pauses are not optional. They are essential to performing at the highest level. Athletes rest between plays. Musicians pause between notes. Speakers use silence to let their words land. In every domain, the pause is what gives meaning to the action that surrounds it. Your life is no different. The pauses between your work are where you find clarity, creativity, and the energy to keep going. Without pauses, your work becomes meaningless motion. With pauses, your work gains direction and purpose. Stop being afraid of the empty spaces. Start seeing them as the secret weapon they have always been. Chapter 5. Boredom is a superpower. Remember what it felt like to be bored when you were a child. You had no phone to scroll through and no endless content to consume. You simply sat there feeling restless, waiting for something to happen. And then something did happen. Your mind started creating. You imagined stories. You built worlds. You found things to do that no one had suggested to you. Boredom was the engine that drove your childhood creativity, and somewhere along the way, you lost it. You replaced boredom with constant distraction, and in doing so, you lost one of your greatest sources of genius. The problem is that we now treat boredom like an illness that must be cured immediately. The moment we feel even slightly restless, we reach for our phones. We open social media or news or games to fill every empty second. We never allow our minds to sit in that uncomfortable space where creativity is born. This constant consumption of content is stealing something precious from you. It is stealing the opportunity for your mind to wander to places it has never been. It is stealing the silence where your own thoughts can finally be heard. Every time you escape boredom, you also escape the chance to have your next great idea. Your brain needs boredom to do its deepest work. When you are consuming content, your brain is in passive mode, taking in what someone else created. When you are bored, your brain switches to active mode, creating something new from nothing. This is not just a nice idea. This is how the brain actually works according to neuroscience. The default mode network we talked about earlier activates most strongly during boredom. Your brain starts making connections between distant memories and ideas. It starts solving problems you were not even thinking about. It starts building the foundation for insights that will arrive later when you least expect them. Think about the last time you had a truly original idea. Where were you? What were you doing? For most people, the answer is some version of being bored. They were in the shower, driving, walking, or lying in bed unable to sleep. They were not consuming content or working hard. They were doing nothing, and their brains rewarded them with something amazing. This pattern is not a coincidence. It is how human creativity has always worked. The greatest discoveries in history did not come from people grinding at their desks. They came from people who allowed themselves to be bored enough for their minds to wander somewhere new. You can reclaim boredom as a superpower starting today. The first step is to stop treating every empty moment as a problem to solve. When you find yourself waiting in line, do not reach for your phone. When you are sitting alone with nothing to do not fill the space with noise. Let yourself feel the boredom without running away from it. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. Your mind will crave the familiar hit of distraction. But if you stay with the discomfort, something shifts. Your mind starts to wander. Your thoughts start to flow. And eventually, you will find yourself in that creative space that constant distraction kept hidden. The people you admire for their creativity and intelligence have not escaped boredom. They have embraced it. They protect their boredom like a precious resource because they know what grows from it. They take walks without headphones. They sit in silence. They let their minds drift without guiding them. They understand that the best ideas do not come from searching. The best ideas come from letting your mind wander until it stumbles upon something wonderful. You can do the same thing. You can stop being afraid of boredom and start seeing it as the doorway to your best thinking. The ideas waiting for you on the other side are better than anything on your screen. Chapter 6: Strategic Laziness. Not all laziness is created equal, and understanding this difference changes everything. There is a kind of laziness that comes from exhaustion, avoidance, or simply not caring. That is the laziness people warn you about, and it is not what this book is about. Then there is a kind of laziness that comes from wisdom. This is the laziness that asks whether something needs to be done at all. This is the laziness that looks for the simplest path instead of the hardest one. This is the laziness that refuses to waste energy on things that do not matter. This is strategic laziness, and it is one of the smartest tools you will ever learn. Strategic laziness starts with a simple question that most people never think to ask. Does this actually need to happen? Before you start any task, before you agree to any commitment, before you add anything to your plate, ask yourself this question. Most of what we do every day does not actually need to be done. We do it out of habit, out of guilt, or because someone else expects it. We waste enormous amounts of energy on things that contribute nothing to our lives or our goals. Strategic laziness cuts through this waste by refusing to do anything that does not truly matter. It saves your energy for the things that actually count. The second question of strategic laziness is even more powerful. Is there an easier way? Most people attack problems with brute force because it feels like the most direct approach. They work harder instead of smarter because they never stop to consider alternatives. Strategic laziness insists on finding the simplest solution to any problem. It asks whether someone else has already solved this. It asks whether a tool exists to do the work for you. It asks whether you even need to solve it at all. This approach often leads to solutions that look like cheating to people who only respect hard work. But genius is not about how hard you try. Genius is about how well you think. History is full of examples where strategic laziness produced breakthroughs that hard work could not achieve. People who automated tasks instead of doing them manually. People who found patterns that simplified complex problems. People who asked why something had to be done a certain way and then changed everything. These people were called lazy by those who could not see what they were doing, but they were not avoiding work. They were avoiding unnecessary work so they could focus their energy where it mattered most. They understood that energy spent on things that do not matter is energy stolen from things that do. You can start practicing strategic laziness by examining your daily routines. Look at everything you do regularly and ask whether it is truly necessary. Look at the tasks that drain you and ask whether there is a simpler way. Look at the commitments that fill your calendar and ask whether they deserve your time. This examination will reveal how much of your life is spent on things that do not serve you. You will see patterns of unnecessary effort that you adopted without ever questioning. The goal is not to become completely inactive. The goal is to become so selective about your activity that everything you do has real purpose and meaning. The beauty of strategic laziness is that it gives you more energy for what matters. When you stop wasting effort on useless things, you have more energy for your creative work, your relationships, and your rest. You stop feeling exhausted all the time because you are not constantly running in circles. You have time to think, to wander, to be bored, and to let your genius work. Strategic laziness is not about doing less for the sake of doing less. It is about doing less of what does not matter so you can do more of what does. It is about respecting your energy enough to spend it wisely. And that is not lazy at all. That is the smartest way to live. Chapter 7. The Art of the Afternoon Nap. There is a reason why some of the smartest people in history were famous for napping. Albert Einstein slept for 10 hours each night and still took regular naps during the day. Thomas Edison was known for his power naps, often sleeping for just 15 minutes at a time. Leonardo da Vinci used a polyphasic sleep schedule with frequent short naps. These geniuses were not lazy. They had discovered something that modern science has now proven completely true. Napping makes you smarter. It improves memory, boosts creativity, and helps you solve problems that seemed impossible when you were tired. The science behind napping is simple but powerful. When you sleep, your brain processes everything you learned while awake. It sorts through memories, decides what to keep and what to discard, and makes connections between new information and old knowledge. This processing happens most efficiently during naps because your brain is not overwhelmed with new input. A short nap can improve your memory significantly. A longer nap can spark creative insights that waking hours never produce. Your brain was designed to sleep in cycles, and forcing it to stay awake all day fights against millions of years of evolution. The problem is that most adults have been taught to see napping as childish or lazy. We drink coffee to push through afternoon tiredness instead of listening to what our bodies need. We power through when our brains are begging for rest, and then wonder why we cannot think clearly. We treat sleep like something to minimize instead of something to optimize. This mindset is backwards and it costs us dearly. The afternoon slump is not a weakness. It is a signal from your brain that it needs time to process and recharge. Ignoring that signal does not make you stronger. It makes you slower, less creative, and more likely to make mistakes. The best nap for boosting genius is surprisingly short. 15 to 20 minutes gives your brain the benefits of light sleep without leaving you groggy afterward. This kind of nap improves alertness, memory, and mood for hours afterward. It is like a reset button for your brain that clears out mental fog and restores your ability to think clearly. The trick is to keep it short and to do it at the right time. Early afternoon is ideal for most people because that is when your body naturally wants to rest. A short nap at this time works with your biology instead of fighting against it. Longer naps can be even more powerful for creativity, but they require more planning. A 90-minute nap allows your brain to complete a full sleep cycle, including the deep sleep and REM stages that are most important for creativity. During REM sleep, your brain makes wild connections between unrelated ideas. This is where dreams come from, and it is also where creative breakthroughs are born. Some of history's greatest ideas arrived during naps or immediately upon waking. The trick with longer naps is to time them so they do not interfere with your nighttime sleep. A nap between 1 and 3 in the afternoon is usually safe for most people. You can start using the art of the nap today by giving yourself permission to rest. Find a quiet place where you can close your eyes without being disturbed. Set a timer for 15 minutes and simply let go. Do not worry about whether you actually fall asleep. Just resting with your eyes closed gives your brain many of the same benefits. When the timer goes off, take a moment to wake up slowly before jumping back into activity. Pay attention to how you feel afterward and notice the difference in your thinking. You will likely find that problems seem smaller, ideas come more easily, and your energy feels renewed. This is not laziness. This is using your brain the way it was designed to be used. Chapter 8. Stop saying yes to everything. Every time you say yes to something, you are saying no to something else. This is a simple truth that most people never stop to consider. When you agree to a meeting, you are saying no to time you could have spent thinking. When you accept a favor, you are saying no to energy you could have saved for your own goals. When you commit to an obligation, you are saying no to freedom you could have used to rest or create. Most people say yes without thinking because they want to be helpful, because they fear disappointing others, or because they have never learned to set boundaries. But every unnecessary yes steals something from your genius. The people who do their best work are not the ones who say yes to everything. They are the ones who are incredibly selective about what they agree to do. They protect their time and energy like the precious resources they are. They understand that saying yes to one thing means saying no to everything else they could have done with that moment. This does not make them selfish or unhelpful. It makes them wise about where their energy will have the greatest impact. A genius who is exhausted from saying yes to every request cannot help anyone. A genius who is rested and focused can change the world. Learning to say no is a skill that takes practice, but it gets easier with time. The first step is to stop answering immediately when someone asks for your time. Give yourself permission to say, "Let me check my calendar and get back to you." This simple pause gives you space to think about whether you actually want to do this thing. It breaks the pattern of automatic agreement that leaves you overcommitted and exhausted. During that pause, ask yourself whether this request aligns with your priorities. Ask yourself whether you have the energy to do it well. Ask yourself whether you would be excited to say yes if no one was watching. When you decide to say no, you do not need to give a long explanation. A simple statement is enough. "I appreciate you asking, but I cannot take that on right now. Thank you for thinking of me, but that does not fit my schedule. I have to pass on this one, but I hope it goes well." Notice that none of these answers make excuses or invite negotiation. They are clear, kind, and final. Most people will accept your no without pushing back. The ones who push back are often the ones who do not respect your boundaries, and those are exactly the people you need to say no to most firmly. The hardest no to say is often the one you say to yourself. You have internalized the belief that you should always be doing something productive. You feel guilty when you rest, even when no one else is watching. This inner voice is the most demanding taskmaster you will ever face, and it never gives you a day off. You need to learn to say no to this voice as firmly as you say no to anyone else. When you hear that voice telling you to work when you need rest, tell it no. When you hear it telling you to add another commitment when you are already stretched thin, tell it no. You are the one in charge of your life, not the voice of guilt. The freedom that comes from saying no more often is life-changing. You will suddenly have time you never knew existed. You will have energy that was previously drained by obligations you did not really want. You will have space in your mind for your own thoughts instead of constantly managing the expectations of others. This freedom is not empty space. It is the breeding ground for your best ideas and your deepest work. The genius you are looking for is not hiding in more commitments. It is waiting for you to clear away the clutter so it can finally emerge. Say no to the things that do not matter. Say yes to yourself and to the work that only you can do. Chapter 9. The done list versus the to-do list. There is a tool that most people use every day that is secretly stealing their joy. The to-do list is everywhere in modern life, and it seems helpful at first glance. You write down what needs to be done, and you feel organized and in control. But there is a dark side to the to-do list that no one talks about. A to-do list is a list of everything you have not done yet. It is a constant reminder of your unfinished business, and it never gets smaller for long. You finish one task and immediately add 3 more. The list grows faster than you can complete it, and you end every day feeling like you failed. The problem is not that you are not working hard enough. The problem is that the to-do list is designed to make you feel inadequate. It focuses entirely on what is missing instead of what you have accomplished. It measures your worth by what remains undone, and there will always be something that remains undone. No matter how much you do, the to-do list will still be there waiting for you. This constant pressure wears down your motivation and makes you feel like you are never enough. Your genius cannot thrive under this weight because your mind is always focused on lack instead of abundance. There is a better way, and it is beautifully simple. Start keeping a done list instead of or alongside your to-do list. At the end of each day, write down everything you actually accomplished. Include the big things and the small things. Include the tasks you completed, the problems you solved, and the progress you made. Include the moments of rest and the times you chose your own well-being. This done list shows you the truth that the to-do list hides. You are actually doing a lot. You are making progress. You are showing up and getting things done, even when it feels like you are falling behind. The done list changes your relationship with yourself in powerful ways. Instead of ending each day feeling behind, you end each day feeling accomplished. Instead of focusing on what you failed to do, you celebrate what you actually did. This shift in perspective is not just feel-good advice. It changes how your brain works. When you focus on your accomplishments, you build confidence and motivation. You start seeing yourself as someone who gets things done instead of someone who is always behind. This confidence fuels more creativity and more action. You become more effective not by working harder, but by appreciating the work you have already done. You can combine the done list with the to-do list in a way that keeps you moving without crushing your spirit. Keep your to-do list limited to the most important things and keep it short. 3 tasks is often enough for a day. Anything beyond that is likely to overwhelm you anyway. Then at the end of the day, write your done list and notice how much more you did than those 3 tasks. You answered emails, handled unexpected problems, helped people, and kept things running. All of that counts, and all of that deserves to be acknowledged. The done list gives you credit for the invisible work that the to-do list never sees. The genius of the done list is that it trains your mind to see abundance instead of scarcity. You start to notice how much you are capable of instead of how much you are failing at. You begin to trust yourself more because you have evidence of your own effectiveness. This trust is essential for creative work because creativity requires confidence. You cannot have brilliant ideas when you believe you are failing at everything. You need to know that you are capable, that you are making progress, and that your work matters. The done list gives you this knowledge every single day. Start writing your done list tonight and see how differently you feel about yourself in the morning. Chapter 10. Move slowly, think deeply. The pace of modern life has become a problem that most people do not even notice. Everything moves fast. We eat fast, talk fast, drive fast, and expect answers fast. We rush from one thing to the next as if speed itself is a measure of success. But speed comes with a hidden cost that we rarely consider. When you move fast, your mind also moves fast. You skim instead of read. You react instead of think. You choose the first answer instead of the best answer. Fast movement creates fast thinking, and fast thinking is rarely deep thinking. Your genius requires slowness to emerge. Look at how geniuses throughout history actually lived their lives. They did not rush. They walked slowly and often. They took time to think before answering. They allowed ideas to develop over months and years instead of demanding instant results. They understood that deep thinking cannot be rushed any more than a tree can be rushed to grow. The speed of modern life fights against this natural rhythm. It demands that you produce, respond, and decide faster than your brain can do its best work. The result is a world full of fast decisions and shallow ideas. The people who choose slowness are the ones who produce work that actually lasts. Walking is one of the most powerful tools for slowing down your mind. When you walk without a destination and without distraction, your brain enters a state that is perfect for deep thinking. Your body moves in a natural rhythm that calms your nervous system. Your eyes take in the world without demanding focus on any one thing. Your mind wanders freely, making connections that never happen when you are sitting at a desk. Many of history's greatest thinkers were dedicated walkers. They solved problems, wrote books, and discovered truths while moving slowly through the world. They walked not to get somewhere, but to get somewhere in their thinking. You can start moving more slowly today without changing anything else about your life. Eat one meal without rushing today. Chew slowly and taste your food without looking at a screen. Walk to your next destination without checking your phone. Let yourself arrive when you arrive instead of racing against an imaginary clock. When someone asks you a question, pause before answering. Take a breath and let your mind find the right words instead of the fastest words. These small acts of slowness seem insignificant, but they train your brain to operate at a deeper level. They break the habit of rushing that keeps your genius hidden. Slow movement is not just about walking and eating. It is about how you approach everything in your life. It is about reading a book slowly enough to actually absorb it instead of racing to finish it. It is about having conversations where you truly listen instead of waiting for your turn to speak. It is about working on projects with patience instead of demanding instant results. This slower approach feels strange at first because everything around you is screaming for speed. But the discomfort is temporary and the rewards are lasting. When you move slowly, you think deeply. When you think deeply, you produce work that matters. The people who will remember you will not remember how fast you worked. They will remember what you created, how you made them feel, and the wisdom you shared. None of those things come from rushing. They come from taking the time to do things well, to think things through, and to be fully present in your moments. Speed is celebrated in our culture, but it is not the path to genius. Slowness is the path. Slowness gives your mind the space it needs to find connections that speed misses. Slowness gives your ideas the time they need to grow into something meaningful. Choose slowness and watch your thinking transform. Chapter 11: The Gift of Not Knowing. There is enormous pressure in our society to appear like you know everything. From a young age, you are rewarded for having the right answers and punished for admitting uncertainty. This pressure follows you into adulthood where it becomes even stronger. You are expected to know things at work, in relationships, and about the world. Admitting that you do not know feels like admitting weakness. But this pressure to know everything is actually holding you back from your greatest discoveries. The smartest people in history were not the ones who knew the most. They were the ones who were most comfortable not knowing. The gift of not knowing is that it opens the door to curiosity. When you think you already know something, you stop asking questions about it. Your mind closes off to new information because it believes the case is already solved. But when you admit that you do not know, your mind opens wide. You become curious. You start asking questions. You look for answers in places you never explored before. This curiosity is the engine of discovery. Every major breakthrough in history began with someone admitting they did not know something. They said, "I do not know," and that honest admission led them to find something no one had ever found before. Children are masters of not knowing. They ask endless questions because they are comfortable with their own ignorance. They do not pretend to understand things they do not understand. This is why children learn so quickly and have so many creative ideas. Their minds are open, flexible, and hungry for new understanding. Then something happens as we grow up. We learn that asking questions makes us look stupid. We learn that pretending to know is safer than admitting we are confused. We close our minds to protect our image, and in doing so, we stop learning. Your genius is waiting for you to become like a child again, open and curious and unafraid of not knowing. The most powerful question you can ask is also the simplest. Why? When you ask why, you admit that you do not fully understand something. You open a door to deeper knowledge that most people never walk through. Ask why things work the way they do. Ask why you do things the way you do. Ask why problems exist and why no one has solved them. These questions will lead you to insights that others miss because they stopped asking questions long ago. They accepted things as they are while you kept wondering why. That wondering is the birthplace of genius, and it starts with admitting you do not know. Not knowing also frees you from the burden of having to be right all the time. When you admit that you do not know, you give yourself permission to be wrong. You give yourself permission to explore, to experiment, and to fail. This freedom is essential for creative work because creativity requires trying things that might not work. If you need to be right every time, you will never try anything truly new. You will stay safely within what you already know. Your genius lives outside that safe zone. It lives in the unknown, where you have to discover things for yourself, instead of repeating what others have already found. You can start embracing not knowing today by changing one small habit. The next time someone asks you a question and you are not sure of the answer, resist the urge to pretend. Simply say, "I do not know, but I would love to find out." Notice how this response feels. Notice that the world does not end when you admit uncertainty. In fact, people often respect honesty more than they respect false confidence. Then take the next step. Start asking more questions about things you thought you understood. Assume there is more to learn about everything. Your mind will open and your genius will have room to grow. Not knowing is not weakness. It is the beginning of wisdom. Chapter 12. How to Design a Lazy Environment. Willpower is a limited resource that runs out when you use it too much. You have probably experienced this yourself. You start the day with good intentions and strong motivation. You make healthy choices and resist distractions. But as the day goes on, your willpower weakens. By the evening, you find yourself making choices you regret. This is not a character flaw. This is how human willpower actually works. It is like a muscle that gets tired with use. The solution is not to try harder. The solution is to design your environment so you do not need willpower to make the smart choice. The lazy way is actually the smart way. A lazy environment is one where the right choice is also the easy choice. If you want to eat healthy food, do not fill your kitchen with junk food that you have to resist. Fill it with healthy food so you do not need willpower to make a good choice. If you want to focus on important work, do not keep your phone on your desk where you have to resist checking it. Put it in another room so the distraction is not even available. If you want to think deeply, do not surround yourself with noise and interruptions. Create a quiet space where deep thinking happens naturally. Good design makes good choices automatic. Your digital environment needs just as much attention as your physical environment. Your phone is designed by very smart people to steal your attention. Every notification, every red dot, every endless scroll is engineered to keep you looking at the screen. Fighting this design with willpower is almost impossible because the designers are working against you. The smarter approach is to change the design. Turn off notifications for everything except the most important things. Delete apps that steal your time without giving you anything valuable. Put your phone in another room when you need to focus. Design your digital world to serve you instead of distracting you. The same principle applies to your schedule and your commitments. A lazy environment is not just about physical spaces. It is about creating conditions where your best self can show up without a fight. Block time for deep thinking on your calendar and protect that time like a meeting with the most important person in the world. Create routines that automate good decisions so you do not have to decide everything fresh each day. Simplify your life by removing choices that drain your energy without adding value. Every decision you do not have to make is energy saved for the decisions that actually matter. Your social environment is also part of this design. The people around you influence your behavior more than you realize. If you surround yourself with people who are always busy and stressed, you will feel pressured to be the same. If you surround yourself with people who value rest, thinking, and creativity, you will feel supported in being your best self. You do not need to abandon your current friends, but you can seek out people who inspire you to live differently. Find people who protect their time, who think deeply, and who are not afraid to do nothing. Their example will make it easier for you to do the same. The beauty of designing a lazy environment is that it works even when you are tired. Willpower fails when you are exhausted, but good design keeps working. You do not need to be strong every moment. You just need to create conditions where strength is not required. This is not cheating. This is being smart about how your brain actually works. You are not a superhero with unlimited willpower. You are a human being who needs support to make good choices. Give yourself that support by designing your world to make the smart choice the lazy choice. Then sit back and watch how easily your best self shows up when you stop making it so hard. Chapter 13. The 80-20 Rule for Lazy Geniuses. There's a rule that smart people have used for centuries to achieve more with less effort. It is called the Pareto principle, but most people know it as the 80-20 rule. This rule says that roughly 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. Think about this for a moment. Most of what you do every day produces very little of what matters. A small amount of your activity produces almost everything valuable in your life. The 80-20 rule is not just a theory. It shows up everywhere in business, in nature, and in human behavior. Understanding this rule is the key to doing less while achieving more. You can apply the 80-20 rule to almost every area of your life. Look at your work and ask what 20% of your tasks produce 80% of your value. Those few tasks are the ones that truly matter. The rest might be necessary, but they are not where your genius shines. Look at your relationships and ask what 20% of your connections bring 80% of your joy and support. Those relationships deserve most of your attention. Look at your learning and ask what 20% of your knowledge gives you 80% of your capability. Focus on deepening that knowledge instead of spreading yourself thin across everything. The power of the 80-20 rule is that it frees you from guilt about the things you are not doing. You do not need to do everything well. You need to do the important things well and let the rest be good enough. You do not need to be excellent at every skill. You need to be excellent at the few skills that actually matter for your goals. You do not need to say yes to every opportunity. You need to say yes to the opportunities that fall in your vital 20%. This is not laziness. This is focus. This is recognizing that spreading yourself thin across everything means you will never be great at anything. Finding your 20% requires honesty about what actually matters. Look back at the past year and identify the moments that created the most value in your life. What were you doing in those moments? Who were you with? What skills were you using? The answers to these questions point toward your 20%. These are your leverage points where small efforts produce large results. These are the activities that deserve your best energy and your most protected time. Everything else can be done with less perfection, less energy, or not at all. You have permission to stop trying to be great at things that do not matter to your unique genius. The trap that most people fall into is trying to optimize everything equally. They want to be productive in every hour, efficient in every task, and excellent in every role. This approach leads to exhaustion and mediocrity because no one has enough energy to be great at everything. The 80-20 approach is different. It accepts that some things will be done poorly or not at all. It accepts that good enough is truly good enough for most things. It saves your best energy for the small number of things that actually change your life. This acceptance is freeing. You can stop worrying about being perfect in areas that do not define your genius. Start applying the 80-20 rule today by doing one simple thing. Write down everything you did in the last week and circle the 3 things that created the most value. Those 3 things are your 20%. Now look at your upcoming week and ask how you can spend more time on those things and less time on everything else. Can you delegate something? Can you do something less perfectly? Can you simply stop doing something that does not matter? Each time you protect your 20%, you are choosing genius over busyness. You are choosing to focus your energy where it will actually make a difference. And that is the laziest and smartest way to live. Chapter 14. Finding your flow without the struggle. You have probably experienced a state where time disappears and work feels effortless. You are so absorbed in what you are doing that hours pass like minutes. You are not forcing yourself to focus. You are simply present, engaged, and fully alive in the moment. Psychologists call this state flow, but you might call it being in the zone. Flow is where your best work happens because you are using your skills fully without the resistance of effort. Most people think flow requires intense concentration and struggle. The truth is the opposite. Flow happens when you relax into your work instead of fighting against it. The conditions for flow are simpler than most people realize. You need a challenge that matches your skills. Too much challenge creates anxiety. Too little challenge creates boredom. Flow exists in the sweet spot between these two where you are stretched but not overwhelmed. You also need clear goals so you know what you are trying to achieve. You need immediate feedback so you know how you are doing. And most importantly, you need to let go of self-judgment. Flow cannot happen when you are constantly evaluating yourself. It requires you to trust your abilities and simply do instead of worrying about how well you are doing. The struggle approach to work is the enemy of flow. When you try too hard, you create tension in your body and your mind. This tension blocks the natural ease that flow requires. You start overthinking every move instead of letting your skills flow freely. You judge yourself harshly instead of trusting your abilities. You create pressure that makes the work harder instead of easier. This is why so many people find creative work exhausting. They are fighting themselves the whole time instead of allowing their natural abilities to emerge. The lazy approach is to let go of struggle and trust that you know what you are doing. You can invite flow into your work by changing how you start each session. Instead of diving in with pressure to perform, take a moment to relax. Breathe deeply and let go of tension in your body. Remind yourself that you have done this kind of work before and you know how to do it. Set a clear intention for what you want to accomplish, but release any attachment to how it should feel. Then begin with curiosity instead of demand. Let yourself explore, play, and experiment. When you notice yourself trying too hard, pause and breathe. Return to ease. Flow is waiting for you on the other side of struggle. The environment around you also affects whether flow can happen. Interruptions are deadly to flow because they break your concentration and pull you out of the state. You need uninterrupted time to sink deeply into your work. Even a short interruption can take 20 minutes to recover from. Protect your flow time like it is sacred because it is. Turn off notifications, close your door, and let people know you are not available. Create a space that feels comfortable and free from distractions. The easier it is to focus, the easier it is to find flow. Good design supports flow without requiring willpower to maintain it. Flow is not something you force. It is something you allow. The more you chase it, the more it runs away from you. The more you relax into your work without demanding a particular outcome, the more likely flow is to appear. This is the lazy genius approach to creativity. Stop trying so hard. Stop judging yourself. Stop demanding that every moment be productive. Just show up, do the work with curiosity, and let flow find you. When it does, you will feel something amazing. Time will disappear. Effort will feel like ease, and the work you produce will be better than anything you could force through struggle. Flow is not magic. It is your natural state when you stop getting in your own way. Chapter 15. The Genius of Letting Others Help. There is a myth that geniuses do everything alone. We imagine brilliant people working in isolation, pulling themselves up by their own effort, needing no one else to succeed. This image is almost completely false. Look closely at any genius and you will find a network of people who supported them, teachers who guided them, collaborators who challenged them, family who gave them space to work, people who handled the details so they could focus on the big ideas. No one achieves anything great alone. The idea that you should do everything yourself is not strength. It is a trap that keeps you small and exhausted. The reluctance to ask for help is usually rooted in pride or fear. You do not want to look weak by admitting you need assistance. You do not want to burden other people with your problems. You believe that doing it yourself is the only way to ensure it is done right. These beliefs might feel noble, but they are actually self-destructive. Refusing help does not make you stronger. It makes you more tired and less effective. It steals time and energy that could have been spent on your genius work. And it denies others the opportunity to contribute, which many people genuinely want to do. The lazy genius understands that help is a resource to be used wisely. They do not try to do everything themselves because they know their energy is too valuable to waste on tasks others can do. They delegate work that does not require their unique skills. They ask for advice from people who know more than they do. They accept offers of help without guilt because they know that accepting help allows them to give more in other areas. This is not laziness in the negative sense. This is strategic allocation of your most precious resource, which is your focused attention and creative energy. Learning to ask for help is a skill that takes practice. Start small by asking someone to help with something easy. Notice how they respond. Most people are happy to help because helping feels good. Notice how you feel afterward. You have more energy and less stress because you are not carrying everything alone. Then ask for bigger things. Ask for advice on a problem you are struggling with. Ask someone to take over a task that drains you. Ask for the support you need to do your best work. Each time you ask, it gets easier. Each time you accept help, you free up space for your genius. The people around you want to see you succeed. Your friends, family, and colleagues are often waiting for you to ask because they do not want to intrude. When you do not ask, you deny them the chance to be part of your success. You also deny yourself the benefit of their skills, their perspectives, and their energy. Collaboration is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of wisdom. The smartest people in the world surround themselves with people who are smarter than them in different areas. They build teams that complement their strengths and fill their gaps. You can do the same thing at whatever scale works for your life. The ultimate expression of lazy genius is building a life where you do not have to do everything yourself. You design systems that work without your constant attention. You surround yourself with people who support your best work. You let go of the need to control every detail and trust others to contribute their gifts. This is not about being lazy in the sense of avoiding responsibility. It is about being smart enough to know that you are one person with limited time and energy. Your genius is too important to waste on things that other people can do. Let them help. Let them contribute. Let them share the load so you can focus on what only you can do. Conclusion. You have now seen the truth that the world tried to hide from you. Doing nothing is not a waste of time. It is the foundation of deep thinking, creative breakthroughs, and genuine genius. The people who change the world are not the ones who fill every minute with activity. They are the ones who protect their stillness, who value their rest, and who trust that their best ideas will come when they stop chasing them. You have permission to let go of the guilt that has been weighing you down. You have permission to be lazy in the smartest sense of the word. You have permission to become the genius that has been waiting for you to get quiet enough to hear. The journey ahead is simple, but it requires courage. You will face pressure to return to the old way of busyness and exhaustion. People will question your new approach, and you may even question yourself. Remember what you have learned here. Your brain is a forest, not a muscle. Boredom is a superpower. Strategic laziness is wisdom. And your inner genius, Albert, has been waiting patiently for you to create the space he needs to work. Give him that space. Protect your pauses. Say no to what does not matter. And trust that in the stillness, you are becoming smarter, more creative, and more fully yourself than you ever were in the chaos. Your lazy genius life starts now.